Hey, g'day everyone. Dale here from D&M Services. I hope you're having a good Easter. I've had some downtime before Easter, and we've caught up with most of the kids and family, and yeah, I'm catching up on some work that I couldn't do while I was recovering from my surgery. But anyway, I'm going to do a bit of inspection on the mulcher today, and I'll go over the excavator as well. I gave it a wash yesterday on the internals, as in under the canopy of the engine, not inside the engine. But if you're picking up what I'm putting down, just gave it a bit of a clean up. So I'll go through a few checks on that as well. Well, I've already done most of them, but won't hurt to check them again and talk about them. A bit of a shout out to my son-in-law, cheeky bugger he is. Bought me this hat. I don't even know if he watches my channel, but anyway. Apparently this dude's famous on the internet, so maybe one day I can aspire to be as famous as him. But anyway, yeah. And then it says that on the back, so don't know whether that's even legible. But anyway, cheeky bugger, Dave. Good on you. Anyway, here's the digger. The FEMAC Mulcher. I call it a crankshaft because it resembles a crankshaft. All the teeth on it. I was going to replace the teeth, but on closer inspection, yes, they're worn. Some of them much worse than others. I replaced this one the other day. This was a brand new one, but you'll see that it's a bit chipped on the face here. But I'll grind it back so that I don't want to point. I'll just have like a credit card type thickness. But the next one's not too bad. And the next one's not too bad. This one here has been smashed quite badly. But I think they'll do another turn. The majority of them are pretty good. This one here has had I think this is one that I hit the railway sleeper with the other day, a concrete railway sleeper in the metal, and it was yeah, quite nasty on it. It took a big piece like completely out of it there. So, but again, you look at the next one, and it's not so bad, you know. And then the one I showed you the other day, I think was quite misshapen. It was this one here. It's same thing. It's got a big piece taken off of a corner. But in the whole scope of things, they're not so bad. So they'll do another turn. So they've probably done, as I said, at absolute minimum 200 hours in some really harsh territory, and they've been on it since I've owned the thing, to be honest with you. I haven't changed them yet. I'd have to go back through all my invoices and stuff and see how many hours it's done, but probably 250 or better. I mean, you change your oil at 250 hours, so it's a damn sight cheaper than changing teeth though. These things cost me, with the freight, cost me just shy of 1,000 Australian dollars. So yeah, I got change out of 1,000, but I can't remember how much, but enough to buy some beers maybe. So I will, yeah, I think I'll sharpen them and let them do another turn. But I'm going to make a template, it's called. So I will make a template from the new ones that I've got in the cupboard, and I'll actually use that to sit over the profile, or that edge profile there, and I will that way I can hopefully keep them in the same shape as what they come from the factory as. Obviously they're going to be a bit shorter, but they'll still do their thing. I've got some jobs coming up, and they're mainly grass and light trees. So, yeah, and I've got some unknown jobs. I've got a bunch of quotes to do this week, and another few jobs where there's trees involved. But yeah, I'll put them on before then. But something else that I found the other day, which I'm going to talk to you about. I'm just going to pause this and turn the camera around so I can see what I'm looking at a lot easier. So here we go. Tooth or flail hammer, whatever you want to call it. There's a pin. Now the pin slots in. You'll see here on this one here, the pin slots in like so. Sorry for the, you'll see it's got a flat section there, and then on this side it's the same. I'll turn it around to show you. So the pin actually locks into that groove, and then rather than show you the underside of this one, I'll show you the top side of this one, and then the nut goes on it. But the flail hammer it spins, so if it hits something, it spins in this direction. If it hits something, it can fling back, but it can also fling back like all the way 360 degrees. But what happens is, or what I've found is happening, and it's not a problem with the machine at all, it's just something I've found that happens, and some of you may or may not know about it. But in these two gaps here, where the hammer spins on the shaft, there's a clearance. You can see it there. You feel, hear it, see it. And the gum from the grass and trees that I'm cutting, and any liquid and grit and all sorts of things, it's getting in there. And what I'm finding, and what I found the other day, I had one actually seized, purely because I hadn't used it for a while, because we had so much rain here in North Queensland. So the thing was sitting for at least 4 weeks where I didn't use it, and I was using the excavator and the buckets. But anyway, the tooth seized in that position there, and it vibrated the machine so bad, and I freed it so that it could spin here, but then I used it again, and every time it hit something it come back and it stuck there. So I replaced it. It was actually this one here in question, because you can see it's got a shiny nut on it as well. So I changed the pin and the hammer at the same time. But what I'm going to do from now on, prior to using, is obviously I'll do my inspections, but I'm going to squirt a lubricant in here from now on. I've got a product that's a bit thicker than the standard old WD-40, which I'll put on, but I'll give it a clean up, and leaves grass and things get stuck in around the main shaft. So I'll give it a clean, and I'll have another inspection of the pins and bolts, and I'll show you a pin, and I'll go and grab another new tooth to show people who might not have seen them, or flail hammer, and yeah, we'll have a look-see, and we'll talk about the maintenance on this and the maintenance on the excavator. Hey Jasper, come on. Come. You gonna chase the ball? You gonna get the ball? My dog Jasper just lives to chase a ball. It's my fault, I guess. But he's a beautiful dog, aren't you, mate? Hey, yes you are. Here, come. You gonna shake for me? Shake? Yeah, good boy. Okay, you ready? Okay, go out the way. Go away. Good boy. Anyway, I'm back. Got a knife. I got some gloves. I'm a bit of a safety Sam. I wear glasses all the time. Haven't got any safety glasses on at the moment, but I do have them inside. But I'm just going to be cutting a bit of grass away. But yeah, do yourself a favour. Wear some hand protection, because yeah, these things are your money makers, your money earners, and you don't want to hurt them. look after them. A, I've got a sharp knife, but B, just the other day, you know, I got out to do an inspection on this thing, which I do periodically while I'm operating it, and I turned the crankshaft and there was a bit of metal somewhere on here, and yeah, cut my finger. So something simple as, so I keep 2 sets of gloves in the cab, 2 different types of gloves for different reasons, and I should use them more often. So note to self, use them more often, and you guys too. Look after these things. They're your money makers. Anyway. Must have had a big impact just there. I think I remember when that happened too. I'll have to weld that and build that up, because that'll be affecting the balance. I know I did another one, not so bad, but up there a while back. Yes, that's pretty nasty, that one. That one happened when I actually turned the mulcher off and I put it back down into the grass, and there was a big rock in there, and it slowed down, and then it hit it, and instead of like smashing the rock or knocking it out of the way or whatever, or just, you know, bouncing off it because of the speed that this thing would have been spinning at, it just slowed down and smashed itself on the rock. And it was a sizable rock too, the size of a basketball. You know? So yeah, lesson learned out of there. Right, back on here. Here's another little safety tip for you. Don't work under a raised implement, because you see people doing it all the time, but hydraulics can fail. Hydraulics can creep, and if you're working on your own, you can be in all sorts of trouble. So I've got an offcut. You'll start to see I've got an offcut of wood, and that mulcher is just resting on that. There's no hydraulic creep or anything. A few things about the mulcher. I always check hoses and hose connections, couplings for leaks. Naturally, greasing pins and bushes and so on. The quick coupler is it's quite safe. That sits in place, and as soon as you see that red, long as you see that red bit there, you know that the coupler's not going to come undone and the implement's not going to fall off, or attachment. Got a what's called a crossweb spider living in there. The joys of working in the bush. Hydraulic side of it, couples here, case drain. Can never remember which is which, but anyway, one's pressure, one's return. The other end of it is the drive end of it. Belts are in under here, I'll show you in a moment. The guards are adjustable. There's one more spot to go down to put this guard down that way, and then there's 3 more spots there to open the guard up that way. They're the same thing on both sides, and it's a rev styled mulcher, REV, meaning you can't reverse the direction of this, of of the flow, this will only spin one way, but rev is, I can cut in both directions, so I can slew to the left and I can slew to the right, and it cuts the same. It just changes the direction that the material comes out. That's all it does. So yeah, it's quite a quick machine. 90 centimeters of cut width through there. Anyway, more on the mulcher. There is a grease nipple, or Americans call them grease zerk. Grease nipple there. I put 10 pumps in with a hand pump. I haven't had any problems yet. And then down the other end, there is one tucked away. You can see it just there. And there's a hole in the plate here. You can grease that. So that's really the only maintenance, is just check for leaks. Check these things, make sure they're not falling off. Sharpen them. And yeah, check your nuts. Make sure your nuts are fast. They're nylock nuts. And yeah, there's not a lot of maintenance to be done with it. You know? Make sure your chains are there. And I spin it to make sure that it spins reasonably free, because you know, sometimes you'll get, you know, I picked up wire the other day, and there was wire stuck in here. And this end of the mulcher was actually the plate and the shaft and everything was really, really hot. And when I found it, when I stopped the mulcher, I actually couldn't start it again. And that's what made me look at it in more depth, because there was grass here, but there was also wire, fencing wire stuck in there. And it actually, I couldn't turn this, and the machine didn't have enough hydraulic power to turn it. So it doesn't hurt to keep an eye on that section. There's a labyrinth in there that stops debris getting in. So they call it a labyrinth. I'm not going to explain it to you, but you'll be able to look it up online. Same thing there. And the grease comes in from the other side. Grease in from that way into the bearing. So there's your basic maintenance on the mulcher and basic inspections. Made a little template just out of aluminium, and reason why I had to make it skinny is because if I'm going to put it in situation, I'll get this around here so you can see. I've actually got to fit it like over the tooth and in the gap, and then from there's your square bottom edge, and there's your top edge, and see how misshapen it is, but it fits neatly into the groove in there. Just aluminium. It's not the neatest thing, but it's just something I knocked up. Here is I'll put this down over here. So that's a new tooth, and again, it's not the neatest thing, but that's how it fits on there. It's just something, just a bit of a guide, you know. It's not perfect, but I had to have a bit of clearance so I can put it on flat on the underside, which shouldn't change too much, and you can see the profile is not too bad. And then I put it up on the top there, and you can see that the profile is fairly matched. It's just at that point there where I made a little mistake there, but anyway, that's just a bit of a guide. So that's a new one. Over here, and some of the goodies. And this is for the FEMAC T9 series. This one's the 90, they do a 70 and a 105. That's the pin or the bolt. And I said to you how that fitted in. Nice big shiny nylock nut. So a couple of spare pins. One new one went in the machine last week. This is the damaged one. Now you'll see I have to get myself a bunch of new nylock nuts. You'll see that that's just damage. But and you'll see the tooth is pretty smashed up compared to a new one. That's a new one there, so a bit of difference in them. And this one is, remember I said to you how it's seized? I can't even spin it on that shaft. I can get it on, get it around, but yeah, it's clearly got a lot of gum and corrosion on the shaft. So hopefully by spraying, I'll just get this product. Again, not endorsing this product or anything, but I've been using this for years. Even when we had our mechanical business, we used this particular product along with all the usual, you know, CRC and WD-40. But this one here, I don't know whether it's available overseas, but probably is. But it's a thicker product. Really good for lubricant. Yeah. So what I intend to do is apply it to the gap in here, and I'll bring you a bit closer. I'll just do one just to hang on, I'll have to turn this camera around. Hey Jasper, you want to get involved as well, do you? Hey buddy. Okay, up out the way, go. I don't want to spray you with anything. Good boy, you're not in trouble. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it so that it gets into the gap there and into that gap there, and then I'll do this when I park the machine up, when I'm doing my inspections, and that way it should be enough to prevent them from seizing. It feels better already. So I've got to do that 18 times. A simple bit of preventative maintenance, I guess, to stop the teeth from seizing on the shaft. Because that gave me a bit of what for the other day and held me up on the job. So yeah, something I'm going to do. With yeah, it's just I just buy this in 5 litres or a gallon container, and it'll work a treat, I reckon. Righto. Other things. So other stuff that I'm going to do is I use these. That's the brand. Again, not affiliated, just like the product. It is instead of a grinding disc, it's a sanding type disc that's bonded together. Works really good on these teeth. This one has had a bit of use, but you can see what it does on the grinder. Hence I've got a spare one here because I believe that sharpening these ones today, I'll be wearing it out a lot more than what it is and need replacing. So that's yeah, that's what I use, and that's the brand. And the model, here we go. That's a model number down there. It just works much better than a grinding disc, believe it or not. It's even quieter to use, which is great because we look after our ears. And yeah, righto. So that's part of the maintenance for the mulcher. I'll set you up. I'll give them a bit of a sharpen, and yeah, I know this week I've definitely got a job that's got rocks, and I'll do my best to avoid them, but I don't want to smash up all my new teeth on where I know I've 100% got rocks. So I'll leave them on there, and I'll change them out a little bit later. One thing we need to do is put on proper safety glasses. These ones make me look really really old and dorky, but it's because I have glasses. They're called an overglass, and they fit over your glasses, so I can still see what I'm doing and my eyes are protected. Look after these things too, because they help you make money. Fingers, eyes, hands, all that. Safety, safety. Okay, I'll grind. You can watch. Here's me talking about safety and looking after things, and mentioning the grinder was quieter and everything, but it's still noisy. It's not quiet enough. Yeah, hearing protection. Don't forget to you look after your fingers and your peepers. I always put a bit of spit on them. Don't necessarily go hot tour, but just a little bit of spit. And yeah, doesn't take much. A little bit comes from your body, shouldn't hurt your ear. Been doing it for years. Otherwise, you're gonna be like me, be an old a tradesperson, because that's what I'm a heavy equipment mechanic by trade, and I've been around noisy things for a long time, most of my working life, and I'm 58. And I spend a lot of time at home yelling out to my wife, "What'd you say? Can't hear you. What did you say?" And yeah, part of getting old, I know, but I know if I would have looked after my ears when I was younger, I potentially wouldn't be saying that now. Anyway, on we crack. You know what I find interesting? When I'm filming what I'm doing, I think about what's going on, and I've done things before where I've just like this thing I'm going to show you now. I've used this before, but I've never bothered making anything in particular for it. It took me longer to find the piece of wood than it did to cut it. And I'll show you, it's very, very simple. And it just saves me having my fingers in there holding this thing all the time while I'm doing it as well. So, piece of wood, set it up as a wedge. Just a simple wedge. It's rough as, because it already had an angle cut on it. So, but yeah, I just trimmed it up. Put it in there. Use another piece of wood as the hammer, because you don't need a lot of tension on it. Just a couple of taps, and that tooth ain't going anywhere. And I can grind that without having my fingers in the way. And then to get it out, it's just a simple dislodge, and it's out. So there you go, simple wedge. Yeah, might save your fingers, and you can have two hands on the grinder, which is the preferred method of using a grinder anyway. So yeah, there's another tidbit of information for you. Okay, so greasing the grease nipples on the mulcher. I normally do it when the mulcher's flat on the ground, but I've got to go to a job this morning, and I wanted to check the hydraulic oil and so on. So I've got the mulcher sitting in that position, I've already greased this bearing. I did that yesterday, and the other one, as I told you, is, I'll turn the camera around. So the other grease nipple is hidden down inside here. This tool here is handy for grease nipples or grease zerks, whatever you want to call them, that are hidden away. So it's made by a company called McNaught. It's just got its own grease nipple or zerk on there. You plug it into the end of your grease gun, like you would attaching it to a grease nipple. You can slide that over to keep it rigid, and you'll notice it's got a taper on the end of it. And if you've got a grease nipple that's hidden away or inside a universal joint or something like that, you can get it in there, and all it does is just the taper, the little pin just pushes onto the ball like so. It makes a perfect seal and you pump away. It's that easy. I'll zoom in a bit for you. But yeah, it's not hard at all. And it's handy for getting into places as well. That's a handy tool. Some of you may or may not have it. You can get them in short versions as well. I've already greased it, so I won't grease it. And then that's the end of the, oh sorry, not quite the end of the maintenance, but I'll show you. Oh yeah, I greased all my, lubricated them all yesterday evening, and everything is spinning nice and free. They're all reasonably sharp for today's job. Ready to go. So yeah, that's I use two different types of grease too. I use a high-speed, high-temp bearing grease for here, and because I'm only doing a few pumps, I just use a handheld gun. And then for greasing the machine, I use a battery-powered gun with a different product, a Fuchs grease. And I grease all the pins on the excavator and the slew ring with this white grease from Fuchs. I'll show you another device. This is from McNaught as well. Handy product. It's spring loaded and it locks on to the grease nipple. So I haven't greased this one yet, but you can just push it on and it locks on quite well. And then I'll run the battery powered, and you'll see that it stays there. A few squirts of grease and the grease has already started to come through, and then you just pull that back and pull it off easy. And then when the spring has returned to that line, you know it's ready to use on the next one. If the little jaws inside are jammed or something, there's a bit of debris and there's something, it might sit back just a little bit further. You just got to give it a flick and it's ready to go again. So I'll do a couple of pumps into the tilt mechanism here, same thing, and then click it off, and then it's not going to do it for me, but that's the good position. Just clicks back on again. Oh no, it's not the good position. Oh no, it is. It's locked on. Making a liar of me. Anyway, same thing. Just give it a few pumps. It doesn't need much into that. I'll just check it the other side here. And you can see the grease is already coming out on the other side there. I'll put another one or two in the top. And there it is, coming out the other side there. So that's greased. And again, it's just a quick bang and off it comes. Really, really easy. And I've got into a habit of just giving it a flick, and it works well. Yeah. So I'm going to continue greasing. I don't want to bore you with the rest of that. So now we're going to talk some excavator pre-start checks, I guess. So I'll just run you through, what do I do, what I look for. I'll go back to the greasing topic. There was two reasons why I tipped the mulcher into this position. Obviously one was so I could get that, but normally you can just sit the thing level, horizontal in its cutting mode, and you can grease both sides. But I like to put the excavator into slightly different positions when I grease it periodically, because if you grease it in the same boom configuration every time, there's potential that you're not getting grease into where it should go or could go. Could go, because things wear. So this here takes a little bit. This is my tilt coupling. It takes a little bit more grease when I put it into a slightly different position. Your main, high wear points on your tipping links, and your main hinge point for your bucket, because everything's really hinging from there. That's its tipping link, or H link, whatever you want to call it there. But that's the main pin. I did over-grease that a bit. I was looking elsewhere, but it came out in a different spot as well. So that's hence why I like to grease in different positions, because normally that would come out in this gap here, but it came out there today. So hence the reason why I do that. The other reason why I put it out like so is because I can check my hydraulic oil, because the configuration for checking the hydraulic oil is boom extended and all cylinders in this closed position, and there is the hydraulic oil level in there. That's the cold level, and it's right bang on in the middle, so that's good. So obviously I like to check for leaks. You'll see it's reasonably clean in there. As I said the other day, I cleaned the internals down, and you've got to check in here anyway. You've got to put fuel in there, so it doesn't hurt to check for oil leaks into it, because this is a hydraulic tank here, hydraulic fill point, air filter, and the indicator. Now the indicator goes red. I generally don't check my air filter until that indicator starts moving or showing red, but these things can fail, and there's just a little reset button on the top there. They can fail from time to time, so if they do, generally they'll be letting air in, and you should replace the whole thing, because you don't want air coming in through here, because it's after the filter. It needs to come in pre the filter, because that's going straight to the engine from there. That's the intake in here, through the cyclone action, through the filters, and out into the engine. So yeah, you definitely don't want any dust coming in from this point. So if this is ever faulty, change it out. But anyway, there's no leaks in there. My fuel level, I gotta go and top it up with fuel before I leave for the job. Sorry, when I get it on the truck, I'll get it to a shop, a service station, a gas station, whatever you want to call it. In here, I hosed it down. Just like to keep it free of dust, free of debris. The last thing I want to do is burn my excavator. So all the usual checkpoints, engine oil, make sure filters are not leaking. So you've got your oil filter for engine, fuel filter, water fuel separator here. I drained this the other day just in case. It's got a little drain hose. Fill point, coolant. Now the engine is cool. I idled it for a few minutes before, but the engine is cool. But you'll notice that the coolant is towards the low side, but it's fine. The radiator cap is working fine, because as it gets hot, the radiator will expel, or as the coolant expands, the radiator will expel some liquid, and it will come into this recovery bottle, and then when the engine cools down, it will suck the coolant back into the radiator. And that's all. The methodology behind it is contraction and expansion, but you need a system in place, and that system is very simple. It's the little tank, and it is a hose that connects the tank, and there's a hose right down in the bottom, as most of us know. But the tool that allows the fluid to escape and then also to be sucked back in is actually the radiator cap. So a lot of people forget that poor little simple little device, a radiator cap, but it actually does a very important job. So anyway, pop that open. The fan blows outwards, so all of the hot air is blown away from the machine. I gently hose in with a hose, but I also blow it with a blower, with a air blower. You want to avoid anything high pressure or poking around, otherwise you'll damage a fin like that. So I can fix that up. But you got to keep them all looking like that. You definitely don't want any like that. But I always check for any leaks. Make sure the batteries, I don't do this every time, you don't have to do it every time, but just make sure the battery is secure. You don't want it rattling around. When I'm washing, I always hose in there, and I've also got to protect the terminals from build-up, and they could arc out. So that's that's that. So I'll check the cooling pack, the engine, and the hydraulics. Close it all back up again. I've greased it, and I know that it needs fuel, which I'll get at the service station. And my window washer bottle's full, and my air conditioning condenser is clean and clear, and I know the fan works because it was running yesterday afternoon. And this debris just gets in everywhere, doesn't it? Especially when you're working with vegetation management, it just gets in everywhere. So I didn't give it as thorough clean as I would like to. I just gave it a reasonable clean so that I can make sure it's not going to burn. There's our reverse alarm. I've done, because I do a lot of rural work, out away from traffic and people, I've just rigged up a little switch, so the reverse beeper's in there, and that position there is off, and that position is on, so I don't annoy anyone around my neighbourhood. I leave it off, but as soon as I go outside and go to load it onto the truck, I'll turn it on just so that pedestrians, if there's any pedestrians in the area, can hear it. And then when I get out in the bush again, I'll turn it back off. Probably not kosher, or legal, but anyway, that's done. When I'm working on concrete, I always put the blade on a block of wood. And yesterday I told you all that I never work under a suspended load, so I'm not working on the mulcher today, or the attachment, so I've got it sitting on the ground anyway. It's not going to go anywhere. But yeah, everything is good enough for me to go to work. Close this lid down. In upcoming videos, I'll talk to you about these two grease nipples here. Sorry, nipples here, bolt there. Talk about them, what they do, and how to grease them. Other than that, I'm happy with the condition of my machine, and I'm ready to put it on the truck and head out to a job. And this morning's job is quite a simple one, and I'm not getting paid for it either. It's a love job. My dad has a couple of vacant blocks that he has down at Serena Beach, which is about 20 kilometres from here, and I've got to go down there and do a quote anyway for a person, which is on the same road. It's a rural area, but on the same road. So I'll go and do that quote, and then I'll head off and I'll clean up my dad's blocks. Normally we would do them with a big ride on, but Dad has a guy who looks after his blocks for him, and he had a stroke recently, the poor guy, so he hasn't been able to do anything. So, and unbeknownst to us, it wasn't getting done because it's out of the way. Nobody lives down there, and nobody told us that they were overgrown. So I'll take them down with the mulcher, clean them up, then we can get back to doing it with a big ride on. Just have to find someone else because poor old guy that does it is no longer able to do it. Probably just be left up to me to do with my ride on. But anyway, okay, Dale from D&M. I hope you enjoyed the video and hope you got something out of it in regards to just your basic maintenance and safety tips as well. Just make sure you look after fingers, eyes, ears, just real basic stuff. Anyway, hope you like it. If you do, support my channel, like and subscribe, all the usual things. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Dale from D&M signing out. Bye.